Hey, it's Mombi. This morning, I'm not going to start this video by saying I hate doing blah 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 because I've already gotten the floors done. I've got one of the doors done. I'm putting the other one off because, as you know, they make me nervous. Today, I'm going to tackle this fireplace because I can't get this part attached to the main part of the cottage until I have the fireplace finished. And I love doing stonework. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to start out by taking, this is the piece of cardboard that's going to get glued in here. We're going to put stone around the edges, in the bottom, and then I'm going to make a little stone hearth that's going to come out and sit on the floor near the door. It can't be really wide because the door does open and there's a little step there, as you'll see, or maybe you'll remember from when I did the door. But because this piece fits in here so perfectly, just in case I screw it up, I'm going to take a piece of paper and I'm going to trace around this because this is the perfect size and I don't want to have to measure again if I need to make a new one when I, if I have any issues. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to go grab myself an egg carton that I know I have lurking over here. I'm going to grab some Elmer's glue. I'm going to get my hot glue gun fired up. And those are the pieces that we will need. I know a lot of people do it all different ways. Everybody's got their own method for how they do store their stone. And even though a lot of people use egg cartons, there's still all kinds of different ways to do it. So I'm going to show you how I do mine. I try to keep as much moisture out as I can, just to avoid any warping. And I color mine with pastels rather than paints. So if you've got cardboard, glue gun, egg carton, pastels, Elmer's glue, that's about all you'll need. So if you want to round up some supplies yourself and make some stone with me, go ahead. Otherwise, just hang tight and we'll see what happens. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is make some templates for the sides so that I can cut pieces of cardboard. And then just glue the piece. Oh, jeez. Never know what you're going to grab when you grab a scrap paper, huh? Alright. Make sure to get it in where it's going to sit. I'm going to have this so it comes all the way to the front. So I want to hold that in place. Trace around it. Does not have to be pretty. So that is our very, very rough template. I'm going to try to straighten it up a little bit. Get it looking a little nicer, just so that I could cut my cardboard a little better. Anything else we can kind of mold into place with the hot glue and make the cardboard go where we want it to. So I'm going to cut 2 of these out, 1 for each side, and then I will glue them together. There we go. It's going to fit right inside there, and I will glue it onto that when I'm finished. But I'm also going to do a hearth. So I need to figure out, with that in there, try to figure out, I want it to butt up against, of course my light won't show, because there's a little lip that kind of goes up, so I want to do the hearth so that it goes in like that and then comes out like that. So I'm going to draw a quick template on some paper and cut it out in cardboard as well. There we go. There's our little hearth template. I didn't want to make it too big because I want to have a little area over here where you can throw a broom or, you know, some kindling or a pair of boots. I don't know. We'll see. But now I'm going to take all these pieces that are going to get stone on them. Get all this other stuff out of my way. And we're going to focus on the fun part. So, what you need is, yes, of course, egg carton. And what I do is I completely cut the top off. Cut the outside edge off just so that it's easily maneuvered. Doesn't really have to be anything, you know, there's no system. You're basically going to be ripping this all into stone shapes, so don't worry about it. I'm just trying to get a nice workable group of pieces here. So all the nice flat parts, and cut out these weird pieces here. And yes, I injured my thumb a couple days ago, and man, I'm trying not to be a baby about it, but I can barely put any pressure on it, so it's gonna look, you'll notice I'm cutting kind of weird and babying this guy right here, so don't make fun of me. You gotta craft through the pain, right? Persevere. Okay, discard all that stuff. Now, I've seen people take tacky glue or Elmer's glue or wood glue or whatever glue they want to use to get the stones laid down. I go for quick and easy, and I hot glue them down because they're going to get enough other glues and things on top of them. I'm not going to waste time and glue them all in with my Elmer's. Clean this up a little bit here. And that you can just kind of flatten. Now the key is, if you want a real nice natural stone, is do not cut anything. You're going to want to rip all of it, which is what I do. And you want to do different sizes. And all that flat edge right there, get rid of it. You're going to make a nice little pile. I'm just going to throw them in here for now, of all the pieces that will become stone. So I'm going to work on this. And when we're ready to glue, I shall return. A lovely little pile of egg carton stones, or what will be stones. Now, obviously, I don't want my grout to be brown. So whenever I'm working with cardboard, I get paranoid because, you know, the whole warping situation. But I think I should be okay. I'm going to do a very thin layer of gray acrylic paint in here that I will have as my grout. So that will be seen between the stones, because I don't want to use joint compound. I'm not going to go around and do the grout after I do the stones. I'm not even going to deal with that. So I'm going to paint the base color or the base, the color that I want my grout. I'm going to do that right now. Oops, I didn't do the bottom. There. That's better. I just gave it a thin coat. There's a couple spots that are still drying. So I'm going to start with the hearth piece. Now, because this has an edge, we're going to bring some stones down around the front, but not on these areas, because that's what's going to fit in to the wall like that. So just these exposed areas we're going to put stone onto. And some of these have kind of a flat edge still, so I think I'm going to use, yeah, we'll do that. But like I said, I glue mine on. Hot glue, that is. And just make sure that you have enough to go down the front, to go down to the floor. And just put them on any way you would like. In fact, a lot of times when I'm working, I know I need a certain shape, I'll just rip it into the shape that I need. And I have a little extra here too, in case I need to do shapes as I go. Some of them are kind of thick too, so if you find that it doesn't want to bend, just kind of rough it up a little bit. That's not going to work there. I'm going to glue that on there, and then I will cut the corner to fit. You want to leave a little space between them, but because we're not doing grout, I'm not going to leave a ton. And in the next step, we'll kind of contour them more, define their edges. Now, corner, oops, throw it across your craft table. You're going to cut in so that you can fold your pieces down and make a nice, neat corner. Now, while you don't have to be precise with your hot glue, you don't want it sticking up and oozing out between your stones, because that's just not going to look nice. So I would rather go less glue, hot glue that is, than have it glooping out on the sides. Trim that up. I'll do a few more and then I will truck along off camera. You just kind of piece them in here and there. Like I said, I'm looking for, right now, the pieces that have a bit more of a flat edge. So I can make a nice clean front piece. Yes, you can use tacky glue, but honestly, if you do, you know you're going to sit here and have to hold these pieces on, especially the corner pieces, or the edge pieces, until they grab hold. So hot glue is just easier for this part. That's a little too much. And at least it's oozing on the bottom. I can cut that off. I'm just gonna continue to put stone on all these. And when you do inside of here, you can kind of bend them to go around the corner, or you can butt them right up against the corner depending on what look you're going for. I usually butt them up against the corner because you don't see many pieces of stone that, you know, curve around corners. And whereas not much of this is going to be visible, I still don't, you know, don't want it all weird looking in there. So I'm going to go ahead and keep gluing, and then we'll move along. I realized that I probably didn't have to go all the way up the sides of mine because literally my fireplace, the hole in the wall, only goes up to about there. But anyway, and I would normally do a little bit smaller pieces of stone, but again, I'm not gonna, only that much of it's gonna be seen and from a side angle. So I think once the firelight is in there, it'll be fine. I should have gone a little smaller, but again, you know, injury, ow, ow. It hurt to rip them, so duh. And I had mentioned Elmer's, and normally I would use Elmer's glue for this next step, but because in the end I'm going to do a black wash, I'm going to use matte Mod Podge instead to seal it a little better. And the next, basically, we're going to get messy. So basically all we're going to do next is we're going to put some Mod Podge on here. We're going to take our finger and we're going to smush around the stones, and we're going to kind of contour them a little bit and make them look more like individual stones rather than just a bunch of pieces. Well, I mean, yeah, the texture is cool, but we're going to help it out a little bit. And I'm just literally going to squirt some on there, and you're going to rub it into your stones. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to get messy. Little too much there. I'm going to coat the whole thing first. Maybe I shouldn't have taken it off of there. Get it really good on the sides. And the edges where you're going to bump it, just make sure, because this will stiffen it up and protect it. And then the fun part, what you're going to want to do is just kind of go around where your stones are, and you're going to mush it in the cracks. And because my stones are pretty close together on the hearth here, it's not gonna, it'll look better once we get some pastels on it. But that's, you're pretty much just gonna mush it. And if it was Elmer's, it would slide a little more, and I could play with it a little longer and take more time. But this Mod Podge is going to get tacky quicker than the Elmer's would. So I'm not going to mess around with it as much as I normally would. Usually I'd sit here and play and mush it around forever. But that is what you're going for. Put a little more on there to smooth it, but not fill. You don't want to fill the gaps between the stones, but you want to push the edges of the stones down and shape them to look more like stones. And then we're going to put this off to the side and let that dry. Use a paintbrush to spread this a little faster. And then get your finger in there and mush it around. I suppose it would help if I didn't have a fan going on me, but it might not get tacky as quickly. As I said, Elmer's, you have a little more wiggle room and you can really sit and mush them. But like the spots between the stones, like this right here, that's where you want to focus on. You want to really mush it down in there and kind of round the edges of those stones. Sorry, I've still got a bit of the sniffles. I don't know if it's allergies or what. I was feeling kind of yucky the other night, so I'm a little sniffly. Had to run out and mow the lawn this morning while it was nice out. And my battery died on my little electric mower, so thankfully I got at least the backyard done. It doesn't look too silly. But amazingly enough, it's only about 70 degrees here today. Normally our summers are just hot and humid and nasty. But I've been pretty lucky so far this summer. It's been nice. Except for the rain that's kept me from spray painting and spraying sealants outdoors, huh? Glob it on here. And yes, because I put so much on, it's going to take a little while to dry, but you want to make sure it's nice and dry before you do the next step, because we're going to be putting dry pastels on top of this. So you want to make sure it's completely dry. I want to make sure I have it in all the little nooks and crannies on the edges, so that when we go in with our black wash, we're not soaking our cardboard. We want to protect that. Or else Warp City, as we know. I'm going to go ahead and, even though there's no stones, I'm going to coat that too. Just seal that in there. And if you brush over it like I did, make sure to take your finger and go back over it again to get, as we know, Mod Podge likes to hold our brush strokes. Alright, I'm going to set these in front of the fan and I'm going to let them dry completely and round up my pastels for the next step. My Mod Podge is almost dry. There's just a little bit in the corners there, the white that has not dried, but I think we're close enough. And the more I look at it, the more I'm unsure whether or not I'm going to do a black wash, because the area that this goes in is very dark. And I think I'm going to take some black pastel and end up, you know, doing a lot of soot and markings in there to make it look like ash. I don't know that I will do a wash. We'll get some color on these and see how they look. And then if I want, I can take some black pastel and put it down in some of the grout lines. Yeah, I don't know. I might not have to. So we'll just start playing around and see what happens. I've just got a couple different colors of pastel shaved off. I am going to go grab a paper towel, and I'm just going to spray a little bit of water on it just in case I need to wet my fingers and smooth any of the pastel. Help blend it. Remember, I still don't have paint pots, but I have a bunch of these. So I bought them, or I got them off my Amazon freebie Vine program, thinking I would keep beads and things in them. Ziggy, never mind. But I never did, so I figure, hey, why not? We'll throw some pastels in them and roll with that. For colors, I got like a rusty red. Have kind of an ochre color. I've got a green, and then I've got a really deep blue. And as I said, I'm going to grab some black also. Just because I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up needing to shave some of that off there. Now, you can either, actually you don't even need to shave them. If you don't want to, you can just literally take your pastel and color on random stones and kind of, God, yeah, words are not working for me today. Don't put all the same color in one spot. Just kind of, I'm going to go in with yellow. I'm not going to just do them all yellow and then do other colors on top of it. Yes, I want quite a bit of yellow, but I'm going to do it sporadically and try to do it more on the stones than the grout lines, because the grout we're going to darken that up, grunge that up with black, so it's not really going to need any color. I really wish I would have done my stones smaller now that I look at them. I'm not used to working in 1/12. I've said it many times before. 1/6 is my comfort zone. Although I'm finding that there are definite advantages to this smaller scale. Because if I was to do a full cottage like this in 1/6, then I really wouldn't have any place to put it. I'd have no room. I'm going to dip my finger on that wet paper towel and just kind of smooth some of that pastel out. Don't take it off, but just kind of smooth it, blend it in really well. Go for some red. I don't know if you can hear, but my dogs are chasing each other back and forth in the living room upstairs. And it sounds like thunder. They're little guys. They're both part Corgador, or they're part Corgi. One's a Corgador, Corgi and Lab, and the other is a Corgi and a Shepherd. So they're super cute. They're just pretty much smaller versions of their other half. Again with the wet finger. Brushed. Honestly, a lot of times, like, I liked the look of this before I even started putting the pastel on. The pastel isn't absolutely necessary. If you like the gray that you have and you just want to roll with that, that's perfectly fine. It just depends on what look you're going for. I just want a little more variation. That's all. And now with this dark blue, I'm going to kind of go over some of the other colors. I'm going to leave a lot of them the color that they are. Well, no, maybe not. I'm just going to get a little crazy with them, I think. I'll do a little Bob Ross and get a little bold. Because why not? I loved that man. Oops. In fact, I almost got to take a painting class. My old tattoo artist, she and I were going to go. He was going to be in the Black Hills where I was living at the time in South Dakota. And we were going to go take a painting course with him, but unfortunately that didn't work out. And then cancer, that ugly, ugly, ugly thing that it is, decided to take him out. So sad. Loved that man. I don't know if you are into Bob at all, but his son paints as well. There, I just want, yeah, a little variation. I haven't gone in with any of the green yet, but you can see it. It's just, it's warming it up. And of course, when there's a fire going in here, it'll have that amber cast to it, which will be nice. I don't know if I'm going to use LEDs yet, or if I'm going to go for tea light and build up around it. I haven't decided. So I've got all kinds of tea lights, but then again, I've got a drawer of random LED pieces I can play with too. And I need to go out to the yard, gather up some twigs, because it's cloudy out there and I'm afraid it's going to rain again. So I might want to do that real quick after I get this finished. This is on the subtle side for me. Normally I do get pretty bold with my stone colors, but this is kind of tame. And there's nothing wrong with that. see that we're getting some nice variation in there. I've done this before with, instead of pastels, gone in with paint or really watered down acrylic paint. But again, I really don't want to get any more moisture in here than I absolutely have to. I don't necessarily have to do these top stones because unless I literally climb in my cottage and stick my head up the fireplace, up the chimney, I'm not going to see any of these. Little bit of green. I don't want it to look mossy because of course it's going to be in a fireplace and, you know, exposed to heat. It's not going to grow a lot of moss. But since green is my favorite color, I have to have some in there. I like that blue. The dark blue looks nice. Whoa, a little much. I think that's all I'm going to do for the color variation. I am going to go in with black and go around the stones. I'm wondering, I'll try the pastel, and if it works and it gets it dark enough and sooty enough, then I'll leave it there. And if not, then I can still go in. I can give it a coat of sealant, and then I can go in with a black wash. We'll see. As I said, it's going to be in a dark area of the cottage, so it's going to be pretty dark in there anyway. Let's start in a spot where I'm not going to see it that much. See how heavy-handed I want to go. You don't necessarily need a wet finger either. You can go in there with the dry one and still get the job done. Remember, it's a fireplace. It's going to be sooty. So I'm going to kind of go through some of the grout lines, and then I'll go back through and go over top of the stones. I don't think I'm going to need a wash. That'll be all right. pretty heavy on the bottom. It's going to be all kinds of soot and ash. It'll be pretty dark in there. And in the corners, all the gaps. Now, because the fire is going to be right there, all this through this middle area will be pretty dark and pretty grungy. Let me see what we've got going on in there. Now, whereas this is going to be right up against the fireplace, I'm not going to go all the way out here with the soot. I'm just going to do right in front, because this is going to butt up to it like that. So I'll just make it look like some of the ash and the soot has come out during cleaning. Might as well use up the rest of the pastel I have here. We'll really get the bottom good. As I said, you don't necessarily have to shave your pastels. You can just start drawing right on top of them and then smooth it out with your finger. But I've noticed that when I do that, I tend to get definite streaks from where I've dragged the pastel across my rocks, and it just takes more. You have to go in and blend it a lot more. And I just get better results with a brush. None of this is going to be seen, but because I have it here on my mat, I might as well put it there. And it's looking pretty dark outside, so I'm going to run. You can put another coat of Mod Podge on top of this, but to be honest, then you run the risk of smearing your pastels and it's just going to be a big muddy mess. So I'm going to go use the same sealant that I've been using, my Krylon spray sealant. And I'm going to coat this pretty well because I don't want any of these pastels to rub off onto my dolls or the lights, or, you know, as I'm taking things in and out. So I'm going to run like the wind and go give these a coat before any raindrops start falling. Everything is sealed. There's the hearth. Got my glue gun heating up. I'm just going to use some, oh, and while I was waiting for my Mod Podge to dry, I took some little dowels and a matchstick. Made some little railings. You'll only see, you know, that much of it, but still, those little details, right? So this is going to go and get glued in there. And this is going to get glued onto the floor in the main part of the cottage. And I think for this one I'm going to do a combination of tacky glue and hot glue, because knowing me, when I'm taking the pieces of the fire in and out, I'm going to bump it a lot, and I would just like to know that the tacky glue is in there for the long haul, holding things in place. Come on, hot glue. But I don't want to put this in until I get this in, because I'm going to butt this right up against that edge and try to disguise where that seam is. Because if I glue that on there, then I can't get, yeah, it won't work. They have to be two separate pieces. And then I will need to also address the big gap when I'm going to actually, I should be able to attach this to the main part of the cottage now, which will be the next video. And I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, because I know I'm going to have to go and use some joint compound in gaps. And I need to do a chimney that comes, remember the chimney's going to come off the top here, and it'll come up through, make it look like it comes through the balcony floor, which will be that. I don't know if I'm going to use more stone or if I'm going to use a brick. I will probably do stone because I really like working with this. I think it makes fantastic stone. And a brick was more for the wealthier folks. And he's just a humble little dude. I haven't even decided what he's going to do for a living yet, how he earns his keep, and I'm not sure. My other dolls, I can show you the dolls real quick while we're waiting for the glue gun to heat up. As we've introduced Hamish already, he's just going to do a quick hi. You know, this is Hamish. He's the main character. And this is one of his little friends. I have yet to come up with names for the rest of them. I thought about maybe doing like pig type names. So like the other little gentleman could be named Boris, but Boaris. I'm not real sure if I want to go that route yet. But I was thinking like Marisol instead of Marisol, but I don't know. It just seems like I'm poking fun at them too much, or you know, like it's an insult in some way. I don't know. Haven't decided yet how I'm going to do their names. So if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. I'd kind of like to sneak in, you know, the pig puns, but I'm not sure how far I'm willing to go. And these are the two that I was waiting for. You can see they've got a different face mold, and their ears stick out more. And I made him some new eyes. I've done all the eyes for these guys. I just bought some eye blanks and painted them in, and I bought the ones that have the caps that have the pupils already on them, so I didn't have to deal with that. There's the other new little girl, but I don't know that I like her lavender eyes. I kind of wanted something light and spooky, and I thought, you know, well, not necessarily spooky, but fantastical. I'm not sure, but I wanted to make purple her color. So as you can see, her eyes are very pale purple. And right now she's just running around in some little bloomers. I've got some patterns rounded up. I'm gonna, in the future, sew some clothing for these little guys. He's on an Obitsu 11 centimeter body, and then these guys are just on little bendy articulated bodies that they came with. And the leg joints tend to pop out, but they're all around Obitsu size. So I should be able to use the same patterns for all of them, but that's my bunch. If you guys are interested in watching any videos where I actually make them some outfits, let me know. I will certainly do some sewing videos. It won't be for a little bit yet because my sewing machine is buried in the corner of my craft table behind a bunch of stuff right now while I work on this. So that'll be in the future. But yeah, if you guys wanted some of those videos, I'm going to try to tweak some of the patterns that I've got and customize them, but they're going to be very simple, like, you know, simple little dresses and shirts and pants, just, you know, nothing too elaborate. And especially in this scale, that would be, I sew a lot of Barbie clothes, but man, it's kind of intimidating, these little guys. That's a future me problem as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hot glue this guy in. Reload. I actually bought a while back, I bought a huge, like a, I don't know how many pound box of glue sticks for really cheap, so I'm not real worried about running out of hot glue, but there are certain times that it doesn't, I'd rather do tacky glue. It's just so dark in there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this down, and then I think I'm going to be a bit bold. I think I'm going to actually attach this piece to the main part of the cottage, and then I guess I'm going to have to come back and address these gaps, even if it just means putting a whole new piece of cardboard on this side and covering that up. I'm not real sure, but I want to make sure I get this. I like how the railing is kind of behind this lip here, and the fireplace is lined up right about perfect right now. It goes just, it's about the same on each side. There's a gap on each side, and I think I like that. I think I like the way that is. So I'm gonna be brave. I'm going to try to carefully get this glued in right where it's at. I'm just going to use hot glue because I'm going to go back through with the stucco and everything. That'll help hold it all together from the exterior. Yes, let's go for it. Let's do this. I've got the whole thing, it's glued together with hot glue, but I tipped it all on its back because I'm going to throw, I'm just not comfortable with that. So I'm going to throw like a Band-Aid on there. I'm going to hot glue a piece of cereal box underneath where that gap is. Where it's never going to be seen. Just so that while I'm moving this around and trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to address the gap in the wall, I'll feel a little better that this thing isn't going to fall apart on me. There, and no one will know that's there except us. Let me get some stuff out of the way and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. Out of the way, Bella puppy. We're getting there, guys. Holy moly, though, look at that gap. Whew! That's terrible. Yeah, I probably will. I'll just end up taking a whole new piece of cardboard and I will just put the cardboard up to the side. And then once I get this on, it'll help disguise a lot from the top side when I get the balcony floor on there. Every time I look at this big gap, I'm reminded that I need to do another door. Oh well. But there's the fireplace so far. Just cannot get light in there for anything. Now you can see why I didn't do a wash. It's going to be pretty dark in there. Hang on, let me grab a tea light, and I'm just going to throw one in there so we can see what it'll look like when there is a flame in there. I mean, it'll look like a big tea light until I get some logs cut up. But I did remember to grab some twigs when I was outside. Hang on. Ziggy. Craft light off. Okay. Ooh, that's really dark. I don't know if you can see. Looks much better in person, of course. I can't ever capture a good light on my video here. Like I said, it's kind of overcast outside today too, but that is the future fireplace. I'm gonna leave this video off here. And what did I say was next on the list? Oh yeah, I should address that gap. And then I'm gonna do like I did above that door. I'm going to take one of these big pieces of timber and make a mantle. And I've decided against putting, I know I had talked about maybe making some stones come around the sides of the fireplace, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I haven't decided if I'm going to put wood. I might just leave it as is. I might attach something like what looks like a wrought iron piece to the wall here that can kind of swing in, and put a pot above the stove. I might connect one inside the fireplace. I don't know, I have lots of ideas and no decisions have been made. But that's where we're at now, and you can see how my little railing, my little banister looks just doop, doop, up there. Let me grab Hamish real quick and I'll stick him in there so you guys can see. And there he is. I like that you can see the light through the window. I don't even have a light over there. That's just bouncing off of other lights that I have turned on. So that's pretty cool. I've got a sunset lamp too that I can shine through there when I take photos. So yeah, I will be back next time and hopefully have addressed the gap in the wall. And yeah, I don't know what the next project is. I would like to get the chimney done up on the balcony. So that'll probably mean just doing more stonework. I don't know. I won't really need to make a video because it's pretty much the exact same thing I did on here with just less soot. So, yep. I will see you guys next time. Bye.